What is drama, and am I living in it?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers,
We're therapists.
and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, I hope we're not living in it. Like, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You were not that dramatic as an older brother, but sometimes you got quite persecutory.
When we play basketball in the backyard as kids, I think I would probably be in a little bit of drama.
I'm a victim of you. I'm definitely a victim of you.
I was a persecutor. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So talk about those roles. Before we do though, Brannon, we got a kind of a cool announcement. We're both excited about.
Right. We are doing a drawing for the Rising Sun Conference. So this is a chance to come for free. The only thing you'd have to pay for is your travel out there. So we're doing the thing where if you leave us a review from now until August 17th, you are going to be entered into a drawing, and we will do the drawing, and we will figure out who actually gets a free ticket, a free pass to the Rising Sun Conference. So all you have to do is, what do they need to do, Tyler?
Just go to any place where you listen to the podcast, most common, or Spotify or Apple. I know Apple, we get a lot of reviews there. If you leave a review between now and August 17th, it doesn't matter what kind of review you leave. You go into the drawing. We will put all those reviews between now and then into a hat. Literally, we'll pull one out. We'll read that review on our show. And whichever review gets read, that's a free pass to the Rising Sun for yourself or for somebody else if you want. And this is a significant value, Brannon. It's a $2,000 value. We did it with the Radiant Dawn retreat, and we had, I think, probably 15 or 16 reviews that came through during the drawing time. So it's not bad odds for
we had a woman come
drawing
for totally free down to Radiant Dawn.
And it was great.
Yep.
So if you're interested, make sure you go to Apple or Spotify, wherever you can leave a review. Leave a review. We'll put you in there. And then if you're just interested in the retreat itself, it's from October 28th through September 1st. It's in Bear Lake, Utah. And it's one of the best things that we do, Brannon. So if you're interested, go to risingsun.org, risingsun.org, and you can kind of take a look at it.
Okay. All right, Tyler, let's talk drama.
Let's get into drama, Brannon.
Yeah. Let's not get into drama, but let's talk about it.
Let's not get into drama. So this topic is actually a topic that we've talked about a lot, Brannon, over the years. Probably in the 15 plus years that we've been doing therapy, I bet we've talked about it 1,000 times a piece.
You know what's interesting, Tyler, is like, I remember getting trained in treating sex addiction and betrayal, and like quickly I started getting trained in the drama triangle. And I kind of thought like, well, what does this have to do with
how does it even apply?
That? Yeah, like how does that even apply? But it really does apply, and it makes total sense. If you look at addiction as an attachment disorder, that addiction is attachment based, then you can see through drama, when you understand drama, how attachment's breaking down and what are the issues with attachment.
Yeah. So today we just thought, we'd kind of go back to at least some basics for us, although a lot of our listeners, this will probably be new to, and connect the dots between addiction as an attachment disorder, understanding human attachment, and then why the drama triangle is connected to human attachment. And then at the end, we'll give maybe some suggestions or ideas for how to identify and move through or avoid drama.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you want to get into the attachment stuff?
Yeah, so
don't nerd out too hard here, man. Get all into your clinical speak, show us how smart you are.
Whatever. Yeah, my wife Rhiannon always says like, "Hey Tyler, can you like say that in non-therapy terms?"
Yeah.
So if I get into that too much, Brannon, just bring me back down a little bit.
Keep it on like a third grade level for us.
All right. So speaking on a third grade level here, this is right at the core. This is something we talk about on our podcast all the time, that we as human beings are wired for connection and attachment. We don't survive well without it. Orphans who don't have physical touch or interaction, they get sick, they die early. Like, we need human attachment. And from the very beginning, we're looking to form what's called a secure attachment, usually with our primary caregivers, especially our mothers, when we're infants. And when we have a secure attachment, we have this ability to know that we're safe, know that we're protected, know that we have a home base to kind of return to. And then that allows us the ability to go and discover who we are and explore our world. And that stays the same from infancy all the way into and through adulthood, that we function best when we have what's called a securely attached relationship, which means I trust you, I trust me, you trust me, you trust yourself, right? So
Yeah.
that's a securely attached relationship. Well, what we find is that even from early ages, when we are in relationships where that attachment is strained, we form different styles of attachment where we, instead of being securely attached, we form these other styles of attachment where we're trying to figure out how to get our attachment back or to create safety for ourselves. And
Well,
so go ahead, Brannon.
I just want to add this in, Tyler. It's interesting, as you're talking, raising 4 kids myself. Secure attachment is such a dichotomy in so many ways. On one hand, I need to be independent from my children and separated. On the other hand, I need to let them know that I'm really connected to them and that I know them. And so as a parent, you're always trying to strike that balance, because each child is a little bit different as to where that real place of security is for them. Which is designed for, and I hate to say this, it's designed for all of us to have some level of trauma in our life, and some level of broken attachment, because our parents can't perfectly
That's
create
going to
that
happen.
security with us, right? And some people have a lot more trauma, children of alcoholics, for example. It's like, well, okay, like that's not a secure environment. But all of us, there's a continuum there, to some degree, are trying to figure out where that safety is and what security is when it comes to attachment.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And Brannon, every one of us, I agree with you. Every one of us has trauma, and we also can move in and out of secure and insecure attached relationships, even
Yeah.
inside of the same relationship.
Yep.
Right. So think of it as we're always trying to work towards this place of I trust me, I trust you, but sometimes I might not trust me or I might not trust you. And then that moves into these other styles of attachment. So these other styles of attachment, the common names for them are the anxiously, attached style, which is I don't really trust myself. I need you in order for me to be okay. So I'm going to cling to you. I'm going to chase you. I'm going to pursue you. I'm the kid who's being, dragged by, hanging by the parents' foot as they drop them off at daycare. Like, don't leave me, don't leave me. Like that's kind of the anxiously attached style. And then there's a counterpart to that called the avoidant attachment. And the avoidant attachment is where I sort of push away, I disappear from connection, I avoid that conflict. I sometimes put on a stoic face or I stonewall people. And in essence, what I'm saying is, I don't need you. I'm going to trust me. I'm going to rely on me. But in the end, I really do need you. I just don't want to say it or show it.
Yep.
And then there's a mixed style of attachment that's been called a bunch of different things over the years, but it's been called fearful, or it's been called mixed avoidant anxious.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like I'm right in the middle of pulling you close but not wanting to let you get close to me, or and so
Yep.
understanding those things. Go ahead, Brannon.
Well, I was just going to say, like, we talk about this in a bunch of different kinds of ways. So you're talking about attachment theory, Bowlby's like attachment theory. This is kind of the bread and butter basics of it. We also talk about it. You and I talk a lot about it in terms of codependency, independency, interdependency. It's the same thing. It's just different words. Drama falls right into that, where we talk about different ways in which people respond with their attachment and their attachment wounds, and how they manipulate to try to get their needs met, by using this drama. And you can see with drama kind of the avoidant attachment, or the anxious avoidant, or the anxious attachment coming in with all these different tactics that we use as human beings, with drama.
Beautiful. So we're talking attachment. We have those different styles. The goal is to be securely attached, but occasionally or often we're not in the secure place. And when we're operating from anxious or fearful or avoidant, then what we often drop into behavior wise is what we call the drama triangle.
Yeah.
And the drama triangle are the behaviors that we do in a non-vulnerable and non-accountable way to try to get our attachment needs met.
Yep. I don't know what this is because I never have been in drama. So. You're gonna have to talk to it about it more because I've never experienced it.
I can just, all I have to do is go back to childhood and think about us like playing games in the backyard or wrestling or playing basketball, and you'd recognize drama pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, I was a victim to like your athletic abilities. Like, how did you stole all of the good genes, and so then I was a victim to it, and then you'd beat me, and I'd become the persecutor and like kick a basketball at your head.
Yeah, lash out in anger or something. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about those three roles then, the triangle. So think of it as a triangle. It's called the Karpman drama triangle, Karpmann, for anyone who wants to go look it up. And it basically says that when we drop out of our adult selves into child mode to try to get our needs met, we'll actually dance between three different roles. And some of us are better at, or some of us choose certain roles more than others. But the first role that we often drop into is called the victim role.
Yep. And the victims, the victim, Tyler, where do we even begin?
It's a lot of people's favorite place.
Yeah. To play the victim. So to be victimized is a real thing. You can be a victim of something, right? But the role of drama of the victim is designed to elicit somebody to chase you, to get connection from them. So it's a power play. If I can get somebody to feel sorry for me, then I can have some power, some control in the relationship. And so instead of stepping into my own power, instead of taking accountability for myself, I play the victim instead to try to get somebody to connect to me,
to care for me. I'm eliciting for other people to do for me what I can and should do for myself, as a means of pulling connection. The challenge to that, Brannon, is that it caps the ability for connection. And then eventually what it ends up doing is it kind of burns up relationships in the long run, because, it's like, Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Nobody likes to hang out with Eeyore for too long.
Right.
It's not very fun for the person who's always doing the caregiving.
Well, right? But Tyler, think about like, what can you be a victim to? Like, who do people play the victim to?
Who do they play the victim to?
Yeah, what I mean is like, I could be a victim to you. Like, you could say something mean to me.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. I go victim out to all of other family because Tyler was mean to me and blah, 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 right? But I can be a victim to the weather. I can be a victim to God. I can be a victim to I could choose whatever I want to be a victim to today and be in the drama triangle.
Yeah.
I think of like, I think of people that are like, well, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm sick. I'm always sick. I'm just tired and I'm sick. And it's like, but are you really sick and tired? Like, I don't think you, maybe you are, but it seems like you're always that way.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it feels like you want me to feel bad for you, that you want me to.
It becomes its own currency
for you. Yes.
It's like, if I feel bad for you, that means you're connecting to me, and I'm getting it, and it feels good to receive that. And we're not discounting that you shouldn't be honest with people. If you're having a rough day, say you're having a rough day. That's fine. It's the way of being where there's not vulnerability and there's not accountability that becomes the drama triangle. Or like you said, Brannon, one of my favorite roles with my wife is the victim. I love playing the victim when I get in trouble. Like, hey, Tyler, like, you didn't do this, or you didn't take out the trash. Oh, I know, I suck. I'm so bad. Like, you deserve someone better. You should have a better husband. I'll never get it right. Like, that's me.
Fine. That's who I am.
Oh yeah. And what does that do? Is it pulls my wife into going like, no. Like, that's not, I just needed to tell you that I need you to take out the trash and that I want you to listen. But now she's got to step over and go like, no, you're actually a good man, Tyler. Like, I wasn't saying you were a bad guy. And now I've flipped the script and I made it about power and control instead of connection, but I'm getting I'm getting two things. I'm getting her off my back at the same time that I'm getting her kindness and attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then she resents me and she doesn't feel connected to me. And in the long run, it
Because you're
doesn't
not
really
a
help
safe
well.
place. Yeah.
I'm not secure. Yeah, I'm not in my own strength and not owning my own things. And so she doesn't feel like she can bring me things now because I'm in a fold when
Yep.
she's concerned about something, right?
Yep. The victim, when you're in drama, if you take two victims, so like let's say I'm in drama with my wife and she plays the victim role to me of like, oh, you're the worst, you always hurt me, and so then I go into victim and say, oh, you always accuse me of being the worst, and like you'll never actually know me, and blah blah blah. And so we're both trying to play the victim. What's going to happen?
It's a race to the bottom at that point.
Right.
Self-inflicted.
We going to get any like resolution on
No.
the issue of what we're actually talking about?
No.
And couples do this all the time where they'll spin in drama over and over and over. And a lot of times it's because they're both in a victim stance. And what will happen a lot of times, Tyler, is as they're both in that victim stance, eventually one of them might shift into, say, persecutor or something. And the person playing the victim actually kind of likes that because now it justifies playing the victim even more. So yeah, like let's say I shift. So I go from like, yeah, you'll never understand me, and you're the worst. Like you suck. Like
you are so critical.
You're always bagging on me and blah, blah, blah. And she's already the victim. Now she is justified in being the victim because I've shifted up into persecutor.
And that's the next role, Brannon, is the persecutor role, right? And when you shift into that persecutor role, you're also justified. You think you're justified to be there. And it's a way of trying to maintain control, and it's a way of trying to have some type of a connection and discussion without the vulnerability and the ownership and the accountability.
Yep.
But now you're justified, she's justified, and now both of you guys are in a dance of trying to hold on to the thread of connection, but the focus has become on being right more than anything else.
It's all about power. It's all about connection to who I am. And you need to see me as not crazy. You need to understand me. You need to accept me and validate me.
Yeah.
But you're doing things in this drama to actually push away what you actually desire and what you actually want.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, Tyler? Like I watch the nieces and nephews once a week, and then I have 4 kids, and my youngest is 8, and drama doesn't end. Like I don't know when they start, but like I don't know why the Bible says be like little children. Like what? Like if you want to understand drama, just hang out with little kids. That's how they speak. It's how they communicate. They'll attack each other. They'll play the victim. It's just. But guess what, Tyler? We laugh.
And then we do it.
Adults are the same.
We just do it. Sometimes in a slightly different version, but it's the same principle, right? Yeah. So some surefire things with like the persecutor are attacks, name calling, lack of accountability, and it's usually more of that harsh startup.
Aggression.
So victims like pulling away, playing small.
Passive
Persecutor
aggressive
is like aggression, and then there's a third role, Brannon, in the drama triangle. And remember, this is a dance that we sort of do inside of ourselves and inside of our relationships. So we'll move from role to role depending on where we're at and which relationship we're in. And the last role is called the rescuer role,
or the caretaker.
Caretaker. And the caretaker, they learn to get their value by making sure everybody else around them is okay. And they do for others what others can and should do for themselves, but they don't do it always just out of like pure love. They do it in order to be okay or to feel okay or to feel good enough.
Right. This is one of the most manipulative roles in the drama triangle. When we talk about Mr. Nice Guy, he's a caretaker. I think about like if I were to, let's say I cooked everybody dinner and I want them to eat it and just think, oh, that's the best food ever. thank you, Brannon. Like, that's amazing. That's just
You're
so good.
so awesome, Brannon.
And let's say, Tyler, you came to my house and you ate my dinner and it's just kind of like, well, whatever. And I didn't get that response from you about how wonderful I am, how good I am. I very easily could dive further into the caretaker or become the victim of you, or
the victim or
even
the
persecute you.
persecutor.
Yeah, because I didn't get my need met of being seen as valuable and as good. But it looks like I'm just doing good things. I made you dinner, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times caretakers will show up where they get involved in things that aren't theirs to get involved with. Like, let's say you had an argument with one of our other brothers, or with, our other brother. And it's like, well, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to fix this because I'm important and I'm going to be involved with this thing that is not my business.
And then both me and Rex turn to you and be like, Brannon, thank you. We're singing Kumbaya together now.
Oh,
you're the man.
You're amazing. Thank you for resolving that, brother. And I'm just like, yes, look how great I am.
Look how much better I am.
But if I'm a caretaker and I jump in and I don't get that reaction from you,
yeah,
and let's say both of you turn on me and you're like, butt out, like, we don't care
Get
what you
out,
have to
man.
say. Now I'm the victim. Now I'm involved in the drama. Now I'm a part of this whole thing.
You've got your feelings hurt now.
It was never mine in the first place. So why am I caretaking? Why am I giving advice that nobody wants to hear?
You made it yours. And I think that's a telltale sign of being in the rescuer mode is that when you start to define your success and you start to take ownership for other people's choices, that's when you might see that you're in the kind of the rescuer mode sometimes.
Yeah.
So if my daughters are out making certain choices and I don't value the choices they're making, and I'm taking it personal because it's reflecting on me as a parent, I'm kind of in that rescuer mode. And then eventually I might switch into, like, the rescuer loves to it's kind of a passive aggressive role because they go until they don't get what they're looking for. And then a lot of times they snap back into like, nobody values me. Nobody appreciates me. Like, can't you see how hard I'm working? And then bam, they're into victim mode, or they're into persecutor mode. Right.
I think, Tyler, we see it a lot in terms of betrayal and sex addiction. How often does this happen? I'll have sex with you out of playing the rescuer or the caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, yeah, I'll have sex. Like, I don't want you to act out. I
don't want you to mistreat me or be mad at me or pull the covers away and give me the cold shoulder.
And I want you to be good. I don't want you to act out. So let's have sex. And then what happens to that partner who's doing that?
They end up feeling used, or they lose a sense of self, or they end up feeling resentful. Yep. Because it wasn't actually connection based. It was more
controlling.
It was more for control rather than for connection.
Right. And so you can see the outcome of that. It leads to, feeling like a victim, or just pushing away from that relationship altogether because I'm allowing you to use me. Right.
That's exactly. I'm inviting you to use me right up until I don't feel valued enough. And then I'm going to feel either an internal sense of loss of self, or I'm going to feel angry and resentful.
Yep.
And what's interesting, I just want to reiterate, with any of these roles, this dance that we play with each other, it's a weird catch-22 because it's enticing to go there because it kind of produces in the short term what you think it's going to. And you can kind of almost get stuck chasing it, when in reality, none of these roles ever actually in the long term produce what we're really looking for, which is that secure attachment.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Can I share some of my victim stories?
Sure.
I love the victim, Tyler. But I'm good at persecuting, and I use sarcasm. And like I
would say your primary two roles would be victim and persecutor, and I would say I'd probably play the victim and the rescuer a little bit more often.
Yeah. I'd say that because I can shift into persecutor pretty good, and so, like, here's an example. I was at a family dinner. My wife felt like she needed to go home for some reason to like take care of something. And so I was left at this family dinner with the 4 kids, and I was pissed that she left. And so So she left and she was coming back to pick us up again. And I hurried and I got all the kids ready to go, like sitting on the front porch, sitting there waiting for her to prove to her that, look, we had to sit and wait for you.
Protest.
Yeah. Like I needed to show her, like, see, look, we're all sitting around waiting for you. Like, see?
Yeah.
And I get in the car and I'm like pissed. And she's like, oh, I just had to check on that. And, I had to come back. She was kind of like, she could tell that I was frustrated.
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah. A shocker. And I actually caught myself and I said, you know what? I'm really just trying to play the victim right now and get you to feel sorry for me for what you've done. And I'm not handling this well. Now,
Well,
that doesn't happen very often, but the reason I tell this story, Tyler, is that's the way out of drama. Is one statement of truth or accountability will shift you out of that drama and make it possible for that relationship to actually thrive through the issues. So when I stop acting like a child, I step into my adult self, I get vulnerable and own what's going on. That's when you can get out of it.
Really good.
Yeah, just the other day I was out doing yard work and it was hot and I was uncomfortable. And my daughter came up and was like, hey, can I watch TV or something? You can see where this is going, right?
Poor guy, you're out slaving away in the yard. Your daughter's so lazy.
That's it. That's where I took it. Like, yeah, I know. I'll just stay out here and do all the yard work myself. Don't worry about it.
Oh, total martyr, like victim.
Victim, kind of persecuting.
Rescuer.
It was a perfect combination of like persecuting with my passive aggressiveness.
You're playing the rescuer
while I'm
too.
victim. Yeah, and I'm rescuing her. Like, go ahead.
I'm gonna do all the work for you.
Yeah. And you know what she said? My 15-year-old, she turned, she's like, oh, thanks for the guilt trip, Dad. No, I'm gonna go watch TV.
She doesn't even bite.
Yeah, she's like, oh, whatever.
She's like, when you want to talk to me like an adult, we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come out and help you in the garden.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Yeah, well, Brannon, let me I want to just maybe outline some bullet points that I use with some of my clients when they're to kind of start breaking the drama triangle, and it goes right along with the examples you just gave.
Okay.
First step is you have to learn to recognize the drama. Recognize it. And the way that you recognize it is through the patterns you find yourself in through your body physically. I know when I'm clench my jaw or my face starts to flush or my hands start to sweat, there's a pretty good chance I'm moving into persecutor. You'll notice that for each role, there's certain physiology things that go along with it. You'll also notice certain language. If you hear names, or if you hear always or nevers, that's a pretty surefire sign that you're moving into drama. Once you recognize it, you then have to do something which is really difficult in the moment, and it's called listing your options. And I do an exercise called the rule of sixes, where you have to list off 6 options before you choose one. So 3 options are already there. I can play the victim, I can play the persecutor, I can play the rescuer. I can play any one of those 3, but I have to come up with 3 other options.
But Tyler, a lot of times that's our unconscious reaction, is that drama, right?
Yeah, right.
So I love what you're saying. Recognize
that if I do this, it's a choice
to play that drama. Yes.
If I play the victim, it's actually still a choice, even though it might be autopilot. So I've got those 3 roles. I could maybe try to practice some empathy here, or I could maybe ask for a timeout, or I could maybe just try to show some active listening, or I could come up with at least 6 options. Once you have those options, the third step is that you then do something we call assessing congruency. And this is the therapy term stuff, but basically what that means is, out of the 6 options, which of these options actually fit my value system? So now I'm going to notch off the 3 victim, persecutor, and roles, and now I've got 3 or 4 other options left. The next step is to then say, what are the risks of each one of these? So if I ask for a timeout, I might be accused of running away and having avoidant attachment. Can I handle that? If I decide to practice empathy, my partner might say, stop doing the therapy bull crap. Am I willing to take that? So like whatever it is, what are the risks? Now that it's in my values, I've assessed the risks, I make a choice. And as soon as I make my choice, get ready to start over right at the top. And you can just cycle through that, recognize it, come up with some choices, get rid of the ones that don't fit your values, make a choice, and just do it over and over again.
So I'll give an example of this, Tyler. I like to victim out to people on the road.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And once in a while I'll persecute, but I get yelled at by my wife and my kids if I do that too much. So I try not to. I try not to. But I've been trying this thing where I realize I'm choosing to play the victim. And usually people aren't that bad of drivers. They're not nearly as bad as I
to make them.
I make it out to be. And so I've been trying to make the choice to really practice compassion with my fellow men on the road. And so when somebody will cut me off, or just the other day, I had a person just hurry in and steal a parking spot from me. The old me would love to victim out and persecute and whatever. And if you're in the car, like, man, me and you together, we could just validate each other and ruminate on that. And I thought, so I drove past her and she was getting out, and I looked at her and she was this older woman. And I just thought, you know what? I'm glad an older lady was able to get a closer parking spot right now. If I was talking to her face to face, I absolutely would tell her to take that spot. And I'm grateful she got it. And I had that thought, and I chose that thought in that moment, and it changed my whole experience.
Because you suffer less. You can now you don't have to fuel yourself off of all of that stuff.
Yes.
It's funny. That's a far cry from, you remember the trip we took to Las Vegas on the boys' trip?
I don't know if you should share this story.
No, it's okay. Like this is the old way. We went to a football game, and then we went to a basketball game afterwards. When we're going to the basketball game, we're driving through the parking lot, and we finally find a spot, and we're waiting for it. And we're straight on for it. And another car comes from the side. I don't think they saw that we were there, but then we pulled into the spot, and they pulled over and were like yelling at us. Like, so, and what happened is, like, I think you, me, and Rex all jumped out of the car and started walking over to the car.
It was like persecutor and persecutor.
Straight three persecutors heading straight at a car full of persecutors. And the only thing that I think stopped us was that we had some brother-in-laws in the car with us that were like, hey guys, like, knock it off. Like,
well, they were terrified. They were like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, let's go to the basketball game. And it's like, now here I am, like, years later, and Brannon's like giving away parking spots like Mother Teresa. So
well, we've grown up a little bit, Tyler.
maybe grown up quite a bit. But to your point, you actually, like, your quality of life is way better when it's approached in the situation you just described.
Well, and it comes back to what you were saying. Like, it is a choice. And if I automatically think, oh, I get to play I'm justified in playing the persecutor right now, so that's what I'm going to do. Whether I'm justified in it or not, it's still my choice. And I can choose to have compassion and love for this woman, or I can choose to hate her.
Yeah.
And
your choice.
Having compassion and love, I think that's good for her. Because if I'm flipping her off and yelling at her, like,
you actually felt connected to a total stranger driving through the parking lot. You got more connection out of that approach than you did in the other approach.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
to the humanity of it all. And I know we're just about out of time on this one, Brannon, but just thinking about that in terms of our relationships, being able to recognize those things and being able to then use that language with one another. And again, you don't do it this way. You're in drama, or you're being the persecutor. Do it in, hey, do we have drama here? Or are we close to the edge of drama? Or do we want to break the cycle? Like, so start recognizing the cycle itself.
Let's take a break for a minute.
Let's take a break.
Let's continue in
let's get out of those roles, and let's get back into our values, and then we can continue the discussion or whatever.
I love it.
Yeah. So be interested.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's a lot more to break down here, Tyler, but we are running low on time.
Yeah. Hopefully this is helpful. This is some basic stuff that again, Brannon and I learned 15 years ago, and it's still pertinent today, and still, I think, extremely valuable. So love to hear what you guys think, or if you guys have other ideas about the drama triangle that we missed. We'd love to hear that from you too. So,
all right, stay out of drama, guys, and have a good week. We'll see you.
See ya.